MEC Panyaza Lesufi has promised that every eligible learner will be placed in the province. He was addressing the media yesterday ahead of the launch of the online system, but he's joined now live by our colleague Mahlako Komane. A very good morning to you, Mahlako. What's the MEC saying this morning?
Yes, good morning to you indeed, Desiree. We started here at 8 o'clock this morning, and we understand that within like 5-10 minutes there were already 31,000 parents that were online, or the 31,000 hits from the system in terms of parents trying to access the system. We then later on, as the minutes went by, started getting complaints from parents saying that they were having issues with either accessing the system or getting that option of feeder schools in terms of being able to select the schools that you would want your child to access. Also this morning we then approached the department, and we were addressed by Mr. Steve Mabona, who's the spokesperson, who told us that there was an issue with Google Maps, that they were sitting at over 6,000 hits, more than that. So they were in talks with Google Maps to increase that number to about 20,000 hits per number in terms of people being able to search and access those Google Maps to try and find those schools in terms of the various. This morning, perhaps, I'm going to step out of the shot quickly. You'll see this lady that's just taking off her jacket. This was the first parent that the MEC had attempted to help this morning in terms of trying to help her, access the school for her child. Let me speak to her. Okay, she doesn't seem to be okay. She's been here for over an hour. She was the first parent to be helped by the MEC. The MEC still seemingly she hasn't been able to access that application. She had said that this was her first time that she had been applying for her child who is doing grade 8. You can see she's quite distraught. I think she's going to get help there. But I am going to speak to the MEC there and ask what exactly have the challenges been resolved. At about 8:40 or so, or 8:45, we had spoken to the department spokesperson, Steve Mabona here, who had told us this issue was going to be resolved. But I'm going to speak to the MEC, and he just is on the phone at the moment, but he had also told us that parents that didn't have documentation or so were going to also get help, irrespective of the fact whether they had documentation or not. And he also assured us that there were new changes in the system in terms of parents in the township areas. There are various languages that are offered there, from your Chivenda, your Tonga, Sepedi, and so on, and parents will be able to select that off of the system. But it has been an hour. This parent has been not really getting I suppose, joy. Let me just ask maybe Masabata to just step in and just show that screen there. I've seen some parents giving us screenshots of this is what they are getting when they try and access the system. Maybe we can talk to the lady if she's in a position to talk to us and see how she feels. It has been about 1 hour and 19 minutes. You have been here for about an hour or so.
Oh, I'm starting to get sick. I'm starting to feel dizzy, but they are still helping me to find some school.
What are they telling you is going on?
They are busy looking for a school for my daughter.
And nerves?
Oh, I'm starting to pick up some negative things. I don't know what's going on with me, but what I know is that I'm sick.
You see, Desiree, that is a parent distraught. I suppose that this is a scene that is there across, various parts of the country, and people within their homes that are trying to get access to that online system. The MEC is still on the phone. I don't know if he's avoiding us or he's actually on the phone, but I'm going to try and get him and see if he is able to give us an idea of what is it that is going on. He's calling us back here. It seems like they're in the system. We're going to try and get that picture. Maybe let's talk to MEC and the parent. Masabata can just move a little bit closer. It seems like the parent has that SMS. We create SMS, ma'am.
Yes, yo, I'm relieved, but I'm sick. I'm starting to get some bad sickness.
For everyone, it's going to create problems.
I see the MEC MEC is on the phone. He seems to be troubleshooting on the phone, saying we need to solve this for everyone because it is creating problems.
Yeah, we started late. I must be honest, I must apologize. I'm told we overloaded the GPS system as well as the location system where parents need to pick up school. Our technicians have just resolved it. The first SMS have gone through. I'm told they've already registered 47,000 people, but we need to be sure before we can make public pronouncement. That is why I'm still here, to ensure that everything is sorted out.
And I suppose you're going to be monitoring this throughout the day?
We have to, but we just have to go to the NEF center to check where the problem is, because that's the only way to solve the problem. If we are here, we are at the tail end. We need to go at the center of the problem and attend to it.
Thank you so much, MEC. You've heard the... I'm going to move out of this quickly. You've heard the Desiree, that was the MEC of Education, Mr. Panyaza Lesufi, just telling us that he's going to move to the nerve center. So I'm assuming he's going to the department in Johannesburg right now to try and see what is the problem. That first SMS with the parent that was distraught, we saw she got her SMS. I mean, we saw earlier on her just moving, running away. Well, not really running away, but just getting some space. You could see there's some tears in her eyes. She had been here since 8 o'clock. She was the first person that was meant to be registered. It has taken an hour and 19 minutes for her to be able to get that particular SMS. But the MEC is saying that according to the stats that they have, there's about 47,000 people that have already been registered, but seemingly there are challenges in the system. So we're hoping that as the day goes on, we will be getting those progress reports as well as an idea of, have they been able to resolve fully, those problems that exist. But for parents that are trying, we do understand that, the applications will close at midnight on the 19th of August, for parents that still need to apply. But for now, what we do know is that there's definitely a problem. I mean, if you could just look behind us there, this hall is full. It's been full since this morning, Desiree, of parents, trying to get to some of the officials here to help them in terms of applying. Maybe let me grab this parent and just speak to her. Hello, ma. How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
I've been here for 1 hour 30 minutes since I've been here, but I see there's progress so far. Yes.
Are you hopeful?
Yes, I'm hopeful. Thank you.
What grade are you going to?
I'm applying for my son grade 1 next year. Yes.
Thank you so much. Let's move a little bit more perhaps and speak to other parents. There's a long line here. Let me go to the line because these are the parents that have not been given. These are parents that have not made it to the seats because there's chairs and then there's a line. So slowly but surely we are expecting that is going to happen. Mama, okay, how long have you been here and what feelings are you getting?
No, salary ba mo go simula ka bo 18, but since really more bona line ya tsama that ram gona something se se tsagala. We are satisfied ar bona batho ba bana re khotsofetsa ba tli ba to thusa from that side.
Thank you so much, Bob. Desiree, you've heard the, I suppose, mixed feelings from parents. Some saying that they are satisfied, others saying they're finally beginning to see progress in terms of the moving of that particular line, with the lines moving. Others, breathing a sigh of relief, having been the first in line and only being able to leave this particular area over an hour and 20 odd minutes later. Desiree?
Mahlako, of course, this being almost like a leading innovation, it was never going to be completely smooth. Just reiterate for us the new features that are being introduced with this new process.
Okay, so Desiree, what I understand that is definitely a new feature in this system is the language. The languages on offer. So as you would understand that in township schools, there are various languages that would be, the 11 official languages that are, offered in this country. we know that certain schools, not all schools, offer all 11 languages. Previously, when you were accessing the system, you wouldn't be able to see if that particular school that you wanted your child to go to would have, for example, Sepedi or Sizulu. So what would happen is that it would then create a problem where a school has taken a certain number of children, but those children would need to be taught in isiZulu, and you find that at that particular school perhaps they offer Sepedi. So now what parents are able to do, once it picks up a location, I understand that it would then give a drop down of the languages, the home language, of the languages that the language of instruction, or the language that the child would need, be it Sepedi, isiZulu, isiXhosa, or Chivenda, and so forth. So that is one of the features that are out there. We also are seeing again this year that they've returned back to that application method where you would see grade 8 and grade 1 parents being able to apply at the same time. This wasn't the case last year. When we quizzed the MEC about it earlier on, he told us that it was an emotional process for some parents then some parents had to do it twice or so. So that is also, that was the reason that they gave us. But also, Desiree, and I think I do remember my interactions with a lot of dissatisfied parents last year, was the issue of distance. It's a big issue, especially in the so-called high-pressure areas. If you go to your Tshwane, certain parts of Tshwane, certain parts of Johannesburg South, certain parts of Ekurhuleni, as well as Johannesburg North. These are the schools that are in demand, in areas where schools are in demand, where the issue then became, previously, for example, when I applied for my child in grade 8, you just had to meet that criteria of 5-kilometer radius. So you had to live within the 5-kilometer radius of the school. This has then changed, where what they then do, you would meet. Okay, let me go back. You would have to meet the 5-kilometer radius. After you've met that 5-kilometer radius, it became an issue of time. How quickly you were able to access the system, and how quickly you were able to access the system, as well as apply the entire process. So it then came down to all the parents in a certain area that meet 5-kilometer radius. The defining factor or the deciding factor would become, if I applied at 8:05 and somebody applied at 8:03, the one that applied earlier would get the space first before the next parent. That is, and you would see some schools would then be full within 20-30 minutes. Schools had then met the number that they needed. What is then now different, which started last year, was that what they do is they start placing parents according to the distance from the school. Yes, the 5-kilometer radius does exist, but within that 5-kilometer radius, it becomes an animal farm situation where not all animals are equal in terms of the distance from the actual school. So if I live 100 meters from schooling, and you, for example, Desiree, would live 1 kilometer away from the school, I would, as a parent, get first preference, whether I applied today or applied on the last day. So now the defining criteria becomes the issue of how the closest you are to the school, you will get preference. And when we asked the department about this last year, I remember they said that what they're trying to do is that, so that children in the province shouldn't have to go very far to access education. People in communities should also have access to the schools wherein they live, because seemingly that was a big issue, which brings to the question, the issue of opening up the system. I suppose it also brings back the issue of how well equipped is the system in other parts of the province. Particularly, we know that there's been a big investment by the MEC in terms of trying to, I won't call it revive township schools, but to bring them up to par to certain schools that you find in suburbia or in the suburbs. So that is another issue that I am hoping we will be able to, ask, are they making sure that parents don't feel the need to be applying to certain schools because they see the education as more superior than in other parts of the province. Back to you in studio, Desiree.